Hello everyone, and welcome back to another flight simulators tutorial. In this video I'm going to be showing you guys how to do a ILS Autoland. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you need to open up your map, which if you don't know, you have to go to World and then click Map, and from there you select the airport that you want to land at. Make sure that it has an ILS approach option. Most of the time, only airports that have commercial operations will have an ILS approach because, generally commercial operations are the only ones flying during low visibility weather. Otherwise, most people don't bother. So you want to make sure you have an airport that has ILS approach. So in my case, I've already done that and I've already found the airport. And when you do that, you click on the airport and you need to get your ILS frequency. And in my case, it is 109.700, so it's a 6-digit number with a decimal between the number. And after you get that, you're going to want to open up your radio panel, and I already have mine open. And in this section here that says nav1, you're going to input that number. So like I say, mine is 109.7, and I am going to press standby, and that means that I just inputted that number in the standby section, and this was the active section, so it just switched the numbers so that what I put in is now in the active, and my aircraft will be able to find that frequency. So if you want to know if the aircraft has found the frequency, you just go up here. These are like your audio buttons, so if you press nav1, we should hear a beeping sound in a minute, and that'll mean that the aircraft has found the signal. In the meantime, I'm just going to lock. Okay, there's the beeping sound, so I can turn that off. And as I was saying, in the meantime, I'm going to start lining myself up with the runway manually. And if it was low visibility weather, ATC would be vectoring you into the runway so that you're lined up before you press your approach button. As I'm getting myself lined up, you're going to want to make sure that as you're on approach, you make sure to watch your airspeed because you don't want to come in too fast. And you obviously do not want to stall. So apart from your airspeed, your flaps, the aircraft is going to do most of the work for you. So you just have to kind of go through if you're, trying to be realistic, you would go through your before landing checklist and make sure everything's done. And the aircraft will be bringing itself down toward the ground. And if it was an actual low visibility situation, once you see the runway, you can disengage the autopilot and finish the landing. Or when it's like this and you can actually see the runway, you can just disengage the autopilot whenever you like. But for this example, I'm going to basically be using it all the way until the ground, or just before the ground, so that I can show you exactly what it'll do. Now, you don't want to be too high above the airport when you're approaching the runway like this, only a couple thousand feet. That way your aircraft isn't struggling to find the glide slope. So we're turning in towards the runway. We're a little bit off, but we're close enough that the approach hold is going to find the approach. So at this point, I'll come over here, and I have heading hold on right now, and I'm going to go over to approach hold and click that instead, and the aircraft is going to line itself up with the runway. And it's going to maintain the altitude because I still have my altitude hold switch on. I didn't take that off. It'll actually disengage and the aircraft will start controlling its own altitude once you get on glide slope for the runway, which just means once you're at the point where you need to descend at a continuous rate to kind of make sure you get to the beginning of the runway to land, the aircraft will start doing that for you. So this is the point in time where you want to kind of control your speed. So So I'm going to reduce some speed because we're too fast to land at this type of speeds. And the aircraft kind of got off track a bit there, but it's going to find itself aligned with the runway again. Now, this tutorial is only really going to work for the aircraft that the autopilot and all the navigational equipment is right in the radio stack here. All the other aircraft are a little bit different, so the only one that this exact example will work for is like the Cessna 172, such as this one, and the Beech 58, and I think the Mooney Bravo also has this setup, but I'm not exactly sure. Okay, so the aircraft's starting its descent, so we'll pull back more power, put a notch of flaps in, so we don't get going too fast. Okay, anyways, I have an old video, I believe, on how to do an ILS approach in a Boeing, I think it's 747, and that'll apply if you're 747, you're 737, but I don't think I have one yet for Airbus, so if I get enough requests in the comments, I will for sure do one for Airbus if anyone needs help. It's the same thing, it's just the buttons and stuff are all located in a different spot, so you might even be able to figure it out yourself. But if I get enough requests in the comments, then I'll for sure I'll film a video like that as well. And I'll likely put a link to my video on how to do an ILS approach in the Boeing 747. For those of you who want to know how to do it in a Boeing aircraft. So as you can see here, now all that's on is my master autopilot, my approach hold. The altitude hold automatically took itself off when we hit the glide slope, and the heading hold took itself off when I put the approach holds button on. So I haven't mentioned yet that the way you can tell if a runway has an ILS approach, you'll see in my GPS you see these green arrows, and that's showing basically the ILS approach on your GPS there, and it also shows it on the map in the world tab up here, so you'll be able to tell if whatever airport you want to land at has one or not based on that. But okay, so now as you can see, the aircraft is basically perfectly in line with the runway and on a perfect I believe a perfect glide slope. Let me just see if I can. I don't know if there isn't any precision lighting here on this particular runway, but we're descending at about just over 300 feet per minute, which is a great descent rate for landing. And we're at a pretty good approach speed as well. 70 knots in a Cessna 172. Right about here, I'll put another notch of flaps in. Try and maintain 65 to 70 knots on short final here. So, you know, if you were flying in low visibility situation, this is probably about the time that the runway would show up, and if not, you're going to want to go around, and you might want to consider landing somewhere else, because you don't want to be getting this low without seeing the runway. So, I'm going to go ahead and cut that off, put my last notch of flaps down, and idle. So there you have it. That's how you do an ILS approach or an auto land in a Cessna 172 on Flight Simulator. And this also works with P3D. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask a question in the comments. I will reply. And if I get enough requests request for a certain video, I'll definitely do that. So if this video is going to help you out, hit the thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.